to the channel today, and I wanted to mix it up today. I wanted to dive a little bit back into Siege. If you guys have been following me since the beginning, you know that I've done a lot of Siege videos and gameplay and stuff back in the beginning when this channel started last year. And I wanted to just kind of revisit the channel, the series, the tips and tricks for Siege. So if you guys want to see more of this, please leave a like on the video. It'll let me know that you guys do want to see Siege tips and tricks videos. If not, feel free to not like the video and go ahead and watch something else on the channel. That will also let me know what you guys want to see, which would not be Siege, and then I'll go and make more videos on other games. But I just wanted to freshen it up a little bit and do something different today. So today we're going to talk about my top 5 attackers and defenders on Siege, and why. We're going to talk a little bit about weapons, but we're going to mainly talk about gadgets and usefulness, and how much these operators help their team, and why I consider them to be my top 5 operators. Now, I may or may not rank them in any order. I think attacking-wise, I'm not going to necessarily order them, but defensively, I do have one top operator that stands above every single other operator. And is obviously, in my opinion, the best defensive operator and is useful in every single scenario defensively that you can possibly think of. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. And with my top 5 operators, the number one, and this is why I'm revisiting this now, is Gridlock. I think Gridlock is extremely effective, especially in the meta that we're seeing today. Anyway, on PS4, there is so much roaming that goes on defensively that having a Gridlock really allows you to put a stranglehold on those roamers. If you're somebody that gets killed by roamers a lot, or you lose matches because the other team has roamers, Gridlock is a great answer for those roamers if used properly. And the reason I say that is that, if you don't know, Gridlock's gadget is essentially this... where do I go to see it? So down here, Throwing Gadget deploys barbed mats capable of slowing down and hurting enemies who travel through them, or traverse through them. And what this does is you get 3 deployables, you get to throw them on the ground, and they start to expand out, and they spread out and deploy a ton of these little, they're essentially barbed wire down on the ground, and they actually hurt enemies that run through them. And essentially what this is really useful for is playing the objective. And so if you know that the other team is roaming around a lot, what you're able to do is you're able to throw these down around an objective that you can make a push on, and you can kind of cut off that objective, make a plant in, say, bomb, or you can do you can hop in and try and secure the area, and it really slows down the enemy team's ability to come to you. If they decide that they're going to shoot these things, because you almost have to if you're going to run through them, you're going to know where exactly those enemies are coming from, and if they don't shoot them, they're going to get hurt and slowed down, and it's going to give you a really good opportunity to hold your angles and secure objective in terms of offense. And it can be used differently as well. If you're not pushing the objective, if you just want to protect your back, you throw one of these, behind you somewhere, and it's going to be a good indicator of whether an enemy is sneaking up behind you or not, because they're either going to have to traverse through it and get hurt, which is going to potentially give you audio cues, or they're going to potentially shoot it and get rid of it to come at you, and that will give you another audio cue as well. So this is really a really good operator in terms of countering flankers and or roamers. And let's not sneeze at the weapons here. The weapons for Gridlock are actually kind of underestimated. Now, I see a lot of people using the F90. I think the F90 is actually an average assault rifle. I don't think it's particularly great. I'm not a fan of the recoil on it or anything like that, but the M249 SAW is an impressively good weapon offensively that a lot of people underrate. And the really cool thing about the M249 SAW is it has a unique scope. It actually has this true sniper scope that you can use that's not necessarily an ACOG, but it's a true sniper scope that no other weapon has in the game. It gives you incredible amounts of sight. It allows you to get headshots, which is what this game is all about, and it allows you to, this gun actually does not have a lot of recoil, and on top of that you have a giant magazine. You're going to have a total capacity of 60 rounds, so you're going to be able to keep firing on enemies, and that's why this operator is useful. You can get into an objective, secure an objective, prevent people from getting into the objective by cutting them off with your gadget, and then hold an angle and maintain fire for a significant amount of time. That's why this operator is so good. And then you have the versatility for your secondary of having the traditional sidearm pistol, or you can have a shotgun, which is extremely helpful because this can act as a breaching charge, essentially. And what that does for you is that allows you to not necessarily have to carry a breaching charge, and you can carry a smoke grenade. And so this character becomes one of the most diverse characters in the entire game, being able to have the LMG with an extreme amount of fire rate, with a really nice scope, being able to have a wall penetrator in the shotgun, or a close range capabilities weapon. Extremely useful. And then you can deploy smoke if you need to, or bring an extra breaching charge. You have a lot of breaching capability with this operator. So this is actually one of my top 5 operators, and just introduced in the last season. So I highly recommend you guys go ahead and check out Gridlock. Somebody that I think that if you're attacking, you should always have on your team now, because they are extremely useful. Now, if we move up one row, I think a second operator that is extremely useful that a lot of people overlook, and a lot of people probably were expecting me to say Lion. I don't really think Lion's that good, and I've never struggled to defend against Lion, so I don't put Lion in my top, and especially since they nerfed him, he's basically useless at this point, in my opinion. I think Finca is extremely useful, and a lot of people underestimate the fact that her ability, her healing ability, is absolutely insane. It gives people HP, it allows you to revive down allies offensively, and that can't be overstated. I mean, the number of times that you end up with a down teammate, this allows you to save time and potentially save your teammate's life in the fact that you can just press a button and boom, they're up from across the map or something like that. So that's, every second counts whenever you're attacking on offense, and it's extremely helpful to not have to run over to teammates to revive them. And in addition, whenever you're doing an objective push, or you see that one of your teammates is in combat, it's always useful to give them a boost in terms of health. And then I believe that this also gives them higher speed and less recoil. I don't know if they nerfed that or not, but in my opinion, one of the best characters in the game. And then additionally, you'll see that she has 3 weapons, which is a nice diverse option to have. You can rush with her, which is actually a viable option considering the fact that she has that extra health boost, and she's a 3 armor character, and she can give herself a speed boost. Using her gadget, the shotgun is actually a viable option. The SASG-12, I think, is actually one of the better shotguns in the game, in my opinion, being able to be semi-auto, and it does a ton of damage. Now, the Spear 309 is a weapon that a lot of people like to use. I think this is an above-average assault rifle, but I think that if you're not using the 6P41, which is literally the best gun in the game, in my opinion, then you're doing it wrong. The light machine gun for the Spetsnaz characters, for the Russian characters here, is literally the best gun in the game. It has a 100 magazine fire capacity. It has very little to no recoil. You can even smack an ACOG scope on that bad boy, and it has very little recoil. It's literally just a laser gun that has 100 rounds in it. So if you're not using it, please, guys, give it a try. This is one of the best guns in the game, and that's part of why this character is one of the best. Now, you only have the option between the 2 pistols. The PMM is a really, I think, decent pistol. It does a lot of damage at close range. I like it, but I prefer the high volume of the GSH-18, but that's just personal preference. And then you have the choice between a frag grenade and a breach charge, so you do have some killing power in terms of the frag grenade and breaching ability. So that's why this character is really useful. They're useful in just about any scenario. And like I said, that's what a lot of this is based off of. Gridlock is good offensively in any scenario because they're a good objective character. Finca is good anytime offensively because when isn't having extra health and extra, aim ability and speed, when isn't that useful? And so that's why these guys are the two of the top 5 in my category here offensively. And then number 3, moving right along, is Jackal. And Jackal is actually going to be in my top 5 for a slightly different reason. The number one reason why Jackal is so important, I would say it's his ability because it's super powerful, but Jackal is literally one of the most OP characters in the game, and the reason being, is that he has a way above average assault rifle. The C7E is one of the better assault rifles in the game, but aside from that, the PDW-9 is maybe literally the best attacking gun next to the Russian light machine gun. And the reason being is that if you're good at getting headshots, this thing has a massive fire rate, can put a ton of bullets down range, and you don't have to stop firing because you have a 50-round drum magazine, and that's why this character is freaking amazing. This gun is absolutely insane, and with a little bit of added speed that Jackal has, being a 2-speed character, 2-armor 2-speed character, this guy is absolutely phenomenal. And then you add in the fact that secondary wise, he again has the option of having a shotgun or a pistol, so he has that little bit of added breaching ability. You know, very comparable to Gridlock in the fact that this is a character that really just destroys roaming operators, except for Kuvira, because Kuvira can go silent step and counter the Jackal track. But aside from that, really powerful character, always really useful to have to track down roamers, and even really useful to have to gain an idea of what position the defenders are in the room if you can get a hold of their footprints and track them. So this is why this guy's in my top 5, and as you can see a pretty good theme here. You know, weapon wise, having the higher fire capacity is really important in this game, and a lot of people don't really understand that. Not having to reload and being able to keep your sights downrange is really important in all scenarios, especially when you're playing the objective. And then having guys that can counter roamers, Jackal and Gridlock, really important. Having a character that can revive teammates and give a lot of health to your teammates and give buffs and stuff like that, very useful. And then there's kind of a toss-up here in terms of the 4th and 5th spot, but I have to go with my boy Fuse. Fuse, really useful in most objectives, but not every single objective. And I'm actually going to give a tie for the 5th spot because it's kind of you need both operators to make it work. But number 4 is Fuse. Fuse is capable of getting kills on objectives, but Fuse is also capable of making enemies panic. And if you have the right coordination with your team offensively and you can fuse into a room, but you have your other teammates holding angles on that room, then when you fuse into the room, you can cause those enemies to have to run out like chickens with their heads cut off, and then they run right into your teammates' gunfire into their line of sight. So Fuse has a ton of use and a ton of capabilities, and he's a 3 health character with a really good weapon. Obviously, my opinion, the best weapon in the game, the GP41. But he also has the variability to be able to be a shield character if you want to, you know, get fun with it. And then the AK-12 is actually a really good gun, especially if you put it in burst fire mode. The AK-12 is a really good gun, so he has 2 really good offensive weapons, one of the better assault rifles in the game, in my opinion. It has a lot of recoil, so I recommend putting it in burst fire. But generally speaking, Fuse, useful in all categories because it's a very lethal operator, has a lot of health, so he can kind of tank things out while his teammates set up, and then he can kind of force enemies out of, you know, their hidey holes and stuff like that. And that can't be overstated in terms of offense. Now, when you get up and play higher level opponents, it's going to be harder to get Fuse into the correct positions because roamers often are looking to take him out, and so you need to have somebody basically escorting Fuse or clearing out areas before he goes in. Fuse is kind of a tough one that you can't leave alone, so he is maybe at the bottom of my top 5, but he's still up there because of how lethal he is and how good his weapon is. And then the 5th spot is like a weird toss-up between Thatcher, Thermite, and Twitch. Essentially, you know, you could include Hibana in there as well because Hibana is that hard breacher, but what I'm saying here is every single round you should have some type of hard breacher. and whether that be Thermite or that be Hibana. And then you need to have somebody that can prevent, mutes and Kades and bandits of the world from preventing you from hard breaching into a room. But when you are able to hard breach into a room, you're able to really make the defense panic, and they have to reevaluate their strategy on the fly. And if they don't have good communication, you're going to come out on top. And so hard breachers are always extremely important. So the number 5 spot's going to go to Thermite for me. I give Thermite the edge over Hibana. Now, Hibana is able to kill things, open up hard breaches at range, but in my opinion, she's only really able to open up one, passable entry into a room, whereas Thermite can open up 2 entire walls with his breaching charges, so he can go from one side to the other side, whereas Hibana can only do, an entrance into a room plus like a hole that you can peek through, which isn't as effective in my opinion as Thermite. And Thermite actually is the 2-speed, 2-armor character, which I give the edge to. I know that a lot of people favor the speed, but in my opinion, having that little bit of extra health can be the difference sometimes between getting that hard breach off or not. And then the thing that I like the most about him is that he has one of the best shotguns, or in my opinion, the best shotgun in the game, which is the M1014, which is just a really, really effective shotgun in my opinion. And he has the option of using the 5.56 XI, which is unique to him, I believe, and one of the better assault rifles in the game. It hits pretty hard, has pretty good accuracy, so I think that his weapon loadout, and especially being able to have a claymore to protect himself from flankers from behind, and having a stun grenade to be able to get on objective, he is a really versatile character, and you pretty much always want to have a hard breacher whenever you're on offense, no matter what. And when you do, and you're coordinated with your team, and you have a Thatcher or a Twitch to go along with them, these guys are close runners up, you're going to be able to win a lot more often when you have a hard breacher. And honorable mentions, Thatcher is really good these days because he can counter so many of the defensive gadgets that they have going on. He can counter just about anything. He can disable Clash's shield, he can disable Kade's charges, he can disable Mozzie's drone things. You just go down the list. He can kill the goose from Lesion. All of these different gadgets, bandits, Jaegers, Valkyrie cameras, regular cameras, cap cans, everything. He's good against all these characters. So he is another one that is extremely versatile. So he's an honorable mention for that. And he pairs really well with other characters such as Thermite. And then Twitch is an honorable mention because she does a decent job of doing that same type of job where she can kill Thermite counters, but the important thing to note is that her primary weapon is also probably the best assault rifle in the game, or considered by many to be the best assault rifle in the game, and the reason being is that the F2 has a 980 fire rate. This thing just puts bullets down range like crazy, so it's really easy to get headshots with. So keep that in mind whenever you're considering offensive operators. And then I can talk about worst offensive operators and defensive operators in my next video, but those are my top 5 attacking operators. And then if I go ahead and go down the list of defensive operators, sorry, this video is going a little bit longer than I thought I would. The clear favorite number 1 defensive operator is Lesion. Lesion is never bad in any scenario. Lesion should always be on your defensive team. He always slows down the offensive characters and can prevent pushes on the objective. He does 10 damage every time somebody steps on his goo, and then they have to take the time to take it out of their leg, which is just really annoying. It's a really frustrating operator to go against, and defensively speaking, you should always have a Lesion. So if you're looking for someone to play, Lesion is a great operator. His submachine gun is very good in my opinion, 900 fire rate, able to put bullets down range very quickly, and can get headshots because of it. Now his shotgun can be somewhat effective, but I don't recommend using it. It's not one of the better shotguns in my opinion. So the T5 SMG, you're kind of limited to that. You only have the one secondary pistol, but you can do some crazy traps with the deployable shield. You even have an impact grenade, which is useful for like bomb and stuff like that. But the deployable shield is a really effective use with his actual goo traps, because you can put goos past the shield. So like when someone jumps over and then they get gooed, they have the choice. They can either stand there and take the goo out, or they can try and jump back over, and it puts them in a really tough spot and allows you to get kills pretty easily. So that's pretty important defensively. Obviously one of the best operators in the game. Number 2 is Kuvira. Now, you might say, a lot of people like to run Vigil. Vigil is a good character in my opinion, but Kuvira is undoubtedly the number 2 behind Lesion, and the reason being is that if you get a interrogation off with Kuvira is absolutely game-changing. It gives you the location of all the players on the other team, and that essentially wins you the round. If you have a competent team, as soon as you get an interrogation, the round is over. You win. I was just playing a game the other day where it was, I think it was like a 5v4 in the other team's favor. I got an interrogation off, and then within 30 seconds, the entire other team was eliminated because we knew where they were at. We were able to pick them off and get a nice, easy win. Kuvira is absolutely insane. She has the ability to go silent. She's able to counter Jackal by going into silent step mode. She's a 3-speed character. Her pistol does essentially 99 damage at close range and is able to down them. And then her weapons are nothing to sneeze at. The M12 is a pretty good submachine gun. It doesn't hit hard. It doesn't have the crazy fire rate, but if you are accurate, it's a pretty good submachine gun. And then the Spaz 15 is actually a pretty good shotgun. It has a crazy amount of recoil, which is kind of hard to control at times, but if you hit your shots, you're going to down somebody pretty quickly and easily. So Kuvira, the number 2, I'm pretty sure most of you knew that one was coming. Lesion, the number 1. And then it's kind of fuzzy here whenever you go with the 3, 4, and 5 characters defensively. And I think that the number 3 character has got to be Doc. Doc is one of the most useful characters defensively, and part of the reason why is that he's one of the only 2 defensive characters now that has an ACOG scope, and that can't be understated. Being able to hold those tight angles, those pixel peaks, and being able to counter the offensive ACOG scopes is really important. You need to have somebody like that on defense, and whether you're going to do that with Doc or Rook, that's up to you, but I think that the better of the 2 characters is Doc. Rook, all he does is give everybody an extra 10 health. What Doc does is he can revive teammates, he can give you, stim you back up to full health if you come back to him. He's, in my opinion, a much more useful character. He can even overstim your characters. So say, you're in the objective and you're defending and the attackers are getting ready to make their final push. He can overstim your team and you guys all have 120 health as compared to the other team's 100 health, and that would give you an opportunity to have a better chance at defending against those characters. So I think that Doc is maybe the number 3 behind Kuvira and Lesion. Obviously, one of the better defending operators that I think a lot of people underestimate at this point. And then, it's really tough for me to name the 4 and 5 because personally speaking, I like certain operators more than others. But generally speaking, I think that Valkyrie is really useful, especially in today's game. Pretty much everybody you're going to play against these days knows where the cameras are at and is going to shoot out cameras. And having the ability to get that extra information, cameras are crucial in this game, and having that feedback is really important. Not a lot of people play Dokkaebi anymore, and I don't really ever notice anybody hacking our cameras and taking advantage of them. So in my personal opinion, Valkyrie is still extremely viable defensively and really important if you want to get that information and know where the enemies are at. So I recommend you guys run Valkyrie, and Valkyrie's weapons are really good. The MPX is my favorite submachine gun in the game, defensively especially the MPX, and that new character, Warden, I believe his name is, that's going to be able to counter Blitz. He actually has the same weapon. So the MPX, one of the better submachine guns in the game, really high fire rate, able to get headshots with it very easily. And then the Spaz 12 is one of the better shotguns in the game as well. So if you're a shotgun type of person, that's pretty fun to use. Valkyrie's secondary option, not really viable in my opinion. The D50, I mean, you got to be accurate, and this thing has crazy recoil, but it's a really fun weapon to use, and when you get a kill with it, it's really satisfying. So that's just kind of like the satisfaction factor there. The fun factor is what the Deagle is, and not really a viable secondary option. So that does kind of take Valkyrie down a peg. But you do have a nitro cell. You have the option for a nitro cell or a shield. So, being able to have the shield, really nice character that can kind of play well with guys like Lesion and Frost to make, nice traps for the attacking team. But that's just kind of what it is. I think Valkyrie being able to get us that information is extremely important. So far we got Lesion defensively, Kuvira, Doc, and then Valkyrie. And then the 5th spot, it's a little bit tough for me. Lately, I think that probably one of the characters that can hard counter Thermite would be the way to go, and that would be somebody like Mute, Bandit, or Kade. And in my opinion, out of the 3, Kade, the newer character, is actually the more effective out of them. And the reason being is that Kade can pick up and throw his Electro Claw really quickly, and you're able to counter even Thatcher pretty easily with Kade. I've found that it's much easier to counter a Thatcher Thermite combo with Kade than it is with a Bandit or a Mute. And the reason being is if you're going with Bandit, you're only able to Bandit one wall. And if you're going with a Mute, it's a little bit finicky being able to pick up and put down a Mute charge, and the timing on it isn't very great. But in terms of Kade, you can Electroclaw 2 walls at the same time, and you can pick it up and deploy it really quickly and really easily. It's one of the more versatile gadgets, and you can do more than just that with it. It electrifies everything in its area, so you can electrify a whole floor worth of barbed wire or something like that, or you can do both a wall and barbed wire if you get the thing in the right range and have it be in the range of all of those different objects. So Kade, I think, is a really versatile operator, and something that I don't think a lot of people know is the the AUG A3. This weapon, I've never even used his shotgun, and you want to know why? The AUG A3 has literally no recoil. If you guys have ever played first-person shooters before, go back to Modern Warfare 2 and look at the ACR. That's what the AUG A3 is in this game. It is an absolute laser gun. There's no recoil to this gun whatsoever, so if you aim where you want to aim, you're going to get a hit exactly where you want to aim, exactly where you're aiming at. So keep that in mind. One of the best guns in the game. Absolutely no recoil. I have a lot of fun with it. The 44 mag semi-auto is kind of a fun, almost a gag of a gun. If you're good at getting headshots with pistols, go ahead and go for it. But in my opinion, really kind of ineffective weapon here in terms of sidearm. And then he only has the option between barbed wire and an impact grenade, which, I mean, can be situationally useful, but really, in my opinion, not the most useful in terms of gadgets. So that's why he's down a little bit lower on the list. But the defensive ability, the direct counter to guys like Thermite and Hibana is really useful. Now, if you guys want me to do an operator deep dive on any of these operators that I've shown, or any of the operators that you guys personally like, and give you guys some tips and tricks on how to use them, I'd be more than happy to do that. So leave a like on the video if you want to see more, and subscribe to the channel for more updates, more tips and tricks videos on Siege here. Let me know any other games you guys want to see anything on. But that's it. That's my top 5 offense, top 5 defense characters here in 2019 revisited. Now, obviously, we're going to have 2 new characters coming out in short order, and I think they're both going to be very good operators. I think that probably Warden is going to be really heavily played because a lot of people hate going up against Blitz, and he's pretty much a direct counter to Blitz. So I think that he'll be a really good operator, but time will tell. He seems to be a pretty situational type of operator. So I hope this video helped you guys out. Maybe it gave you guys some ideas of characters that you didn't necessarily think are useful, but other people find a lot more useful than you did. These are the operators that I think are the most useful and the most well-rounded and will serve you the best in most situations. So if you want to get used to using one operator, top one I suggest defensively would be Lesion, obviously, and then top one offensively would be, maybe Jackal or Finca or Gridlock. So those are my offensive and defensive operators. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it helpful. Please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I'll see you in the next one.